Everyone, thank you so much for tuning into my tarot channel. I wanted to do a card reading or a no card reading outside, and I am gonna get a mic. I know I keep saying that, but I really am. It's just my to-do list gets a little bit overwhelmed sometimes with things, and I'll just say if you can turn this loud, it would be great. But so picking up on the energy of the collective, it feels like there's a lot of stuff about remorse is the word I'm hearing, or feeling like you're in a situation where you're sort of guilting yourself and you feel like there's only one way out and that way is not possible. And I would like to just say that, yeah, like it's valuable to express those feelings and that viewpoint. And if you could just take a little step back from the situation, though, you may be able to see yourself and the limitations that may have been placed on you right now, whatever they may be, and realize that other people would struggle in this situation too, and that will take some of the pressure off. And then as you take a little of the pressure off of yourself more and more, you're gonna see some other possibilities for possible situations to change your experience. And we want to create almost a vision board in our mind, or a real one if you want, of things that you want. And I like to just make a list of things, and sometimes it's practical things, and then sometimes it's like a list of things that are sort of more like fantastical that probably will never happen, because it just feels good to dream, and that's something I'm getting with the collective. So yeah, we're in the sign of Cancer now, which changes a lot, and a lot of the dynamic from Gemini, which was much more mentally oriented. Mercury rules thought and speech, and then we've been transitioning towards Cancer, which we're in right now. And I want to say a big thing about Cancer is moodiness, humor, thoughts or situations that involve the family or lineage, or the mother, any issues with those situations. You can think of this as like an archaeological dig through your past also, as Cancer rules the past and just history. Cancer also rules the public, so this could be actually weirdly a chance where you can, but where you could like become internally aware and then use that for public notoriety in some way. Or, there is a lot of possibility for career stuff, actually, because for one thing, Cancer is opposite Capricorn, which offers sort of an intense funny bone moment towards career situations and career choices. Just also valuing our feelings and our sort of oscillating moods or impressions of life, of the world, and honoring those like even feelings from childhood, as Cancer can also just rule childhood and children. So that's all I have to say about that right now, but I feel like that will come up more in the reading. I feel like there's a situation where there's people that are you love who are dysregulated, and you find that when they're more regulated, they're able to help and soothe you, but then when they're dysregulated, you feel like you can't do anything to help them feel better, and it makes you feel powerless. And I think that I was going to say before, if you could step back from your situation, both in terms of the things that make you anxious and in terms of your role as caretaker, you might see some patterns or some, there may be a situation where you get really upset or like have a panic attack, and then you just realize that at a certain point you naturally calm down. So as time is going on, you're having less panic attacks because you don't see the value in it, which seems like an important thing to say. Like, there's something about just like value and what's valuable and what's not here with this reading. Thinking of the Fool card and just going into new experiences with an open heart, with beginner's mind, and with the mind of zero, of non-experience, the mind of the infant, which is Aries, which I relate to the Fool. So in a way, we all have that in us. Like, we all have our little knapsack and the little white dog, our companion, whether it's a person or an actual dog. I actually do have a little white dog, so I see myself as the Fool, definitely, big time. And then, in some ways, we're all always jumping off a cliff towards some newer experience. Somebody was talking to me about quantum superposition today, which I truthfully need to research more to understand, but I want to mention that as part of the reading. And I want to say, just sort of as a sideways comment to that, like, there may be a situation where there's some experience that's imposed upon you by some sort of karmic field that has been hard to walk through, and the more you can sort of detach from that weight and just focus on more positive things, the happier you'll be. I also feel like, with mentioning karma, there may be some like Saturn stuff happening here with the collective, as in, Saturn can be about melancholy and even just like sort of being sad about the past or things that haven't worked out, disappointment, and just hardship can be Saturn. So there may be some themes of that here, but since I'm mentioning Capricorn, I also feel like you may be climbing to the top of a mountain. Taking a video of myself in a super low vibrational state, and also not in the car because I don't know why, it just felt important, but if I'm like bummed out and hating my life, this is the vibe. You have the right to remain cutie. Anything you say can and will be used against you when you have a fat belly. Test, 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 test. Hello, friends, family, countrymen, people few and far between who watch my things. I so appreciate you. If you're on my channel, thank you so much for tuning in. And I have a reading for us today, and I might splice in some other weird things into this reading. But I didn't do any prep for this. Sometimes I do like automatic writing or research or for things, but I'm just going to sort of see what comes off the top of my head. We got the Page of Wands reversed. There's something that you're sort of dealing with in terms of, like, you want to go on this quest or journey, but it feels like you're halted, you're stalled is what I was going to say. There's something that you maybe feel like you have to do first, or maybe, there could just be like a desire to travel that's burgeoning, and you're like realizing that because the page is sort of young, and so it may be like a new sort of inkling that you want to go somewhere, but you don't feel ready. Also, you feel immature in this desire. So I feel like there's something in you that's like you've been sort of alone in a situation for a long time, and you've been going within like a lot and maybe isolated from others. You've also maybe been focusing on a skill, and maybe there could be something about language or speaking, like maybe you're even languages, like maybe you're studying a language. That's coming to mind. Virgo can be about languages. I'm also getting with the Hermit relating to Virgo something about um, the body, or maybe like
even cleanliness, diet, or health in general. All of these things could just be like, I'm thinking about just places where like the river Ganges, where like bathing there is like sort of ritualistic, and you know it it lends itself to, it's a place where people go to be healed, but it's also just an everyday place where people spend time, or swim. But it's mostly used for ritual purposes. There's something that like it's usually more ritualistic, but you're making it more everyday. And that could have to do with like a cleansing thing. Like it doesn't have to be bathing. It could just be like purifying your mind, meditation, maybe doing something with your hands. Um, there's something about working with other people, and like maybe you haven't been able to really work with others for some reason, but you're now in a situation where you're like, you're just actually, I'm hearing uh you're like a cooperating component, you know, to you and the universe's plan and the greater good. I'm getting some back pain on my upper back. I know Louise Hay says the upper back feels like is about, I think, a lack of emotional support. So getting some emotional support, that feels really important right now for the viewer. Even just some massage, some gentle movement. I know for me, if I don't do yoga in the morning, I get issues that last all day in terms of just my posture, how my back feels, really everything. There also, I also sometimes find that I have a day where I can get away with not doing it, but that's only after doing it a long time. So I'm just feeling like there's something here where like you're noticing the value of routine and repetition, and at the same time you're letting yourself take breaks. So this may be like a new habit for you. Maybe you're like a workhorse, somebody who works hard at things. Okay, so we got Two of Pentacles, we got the Judgment card reversed, and the Page of Pentacles reversed. So Two of Pentacles is telling me that you're balancing something that's difficult. For some reason, I'm thinking of the Robert Frost poem, Two Paths Diverged in a Wood, and sorry I couldn't take them both. Or maybe it's Two Roads Diverged in a Wood. I may be saying it wrong, but it's. I love Robert Frost. Actually, particularly, I also love Robert Bly. That's the writer that's coming to mind. I don't know if you've heard of him. He's around the '60s kind of beat stuff, but it's really about nature. Also thinking of Gary Snyder, which is a favorite beat poet of mine from that time, who wrote in sort of with a Zen frame. These may just be writers you want to look up because they're coming to mind with me for me right now. Sort of just stream of consciousness. Something about nature here. Something about balancing our time in nature and also our time, like, I'm hearing nature versus nurture. Oh, so that could work here with the duality. But also just so spending time inside, but also spending time outdoors, spending time with others, but also spending time alone. Just a better balance, spending time working, but spending time not doing. There's something in Kundalini, which a lot of people think Kundalini itself is defunct now because the leaders were corrupt, but Kundalini itself is an ancient practice and tradition that was co-opted by people to sell to Westerners. Anyway, I love Kripalu yoga. If you've ever, I mean Kripalu, Kundalini yoga. Maybe someone wants to go to a retreat. Since I mentioned Kripalu, it's a retreat center in Western Mass. Maybe that could be valuable for someone watching, spending time in that area in the Berkshires, or just in a group with others. But something about balancing here, and just like also balancing like our energy with others, and balancing the energy that I'm thinking of Libra, although this is a Earth sign card, so it may have to do more with Taurus because it's the number 2. But Libra and Taurus are both Venus signs. I was gonna say with the this works well for them because they like to rest and have times of repose. They like to have times of not doing anything. not that they're lazy, but they're like their rest, similar to Pisces. So Taurus and Libra are ruled by Venus, so they love beauty. So the Kundalini sort of guidebooks suggest that you spend a certain amount of the time doing and a certain amount of the time non-doing. Now, in Chinese tradition, this is called yin and yang. It's not just the yin and yang symbol. It's masculine masculine doing energy, and then feminine receptive non-doing energy. So we have to have like hopefully equal amounts of the time of the day where we're doing a goal, we're working the solar plexus chakra and all the chakras down here, and even the heart chakra can be involved in doing. And then another part of the day where we're accessing sort of the higher realms, the throat chakra, the crown chakra, just sort of those are the ones that are coming to mind, like just being more receptive to what may come. And I feel like there was something that ended for you, something that like you're still recovering from it. It was like maybe a harsh ending, and you maybe don't feel fully accepted, but actually since accepting of it happening, maybe you're going through some of the stages of grief. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross wrote a great book about the stages of grief. But with the judgment, it's like, excuse me, it's just like there's something that you also feel judged and by others, but you're also using your judgment to not be in a situation anymore, and it may be hard, and it may feel like you're going against your better judgment, but also a part of you is being led by a sort of inner guide, who I read as the Page of Pentacles reversed. Yes, reversed. Because your inner guide is actually this sort of like similar to the Page of Pentacles. It's this sort of entrepreneurial, excited person who leaps into opportunity. And that's why you change your situation subconsciously. You're being led by spirit, by your inner guide, to actually to money, and to I feel that you've maybe struggled, and so these changes that you've gone through have been called about by your inner guide, and you've been followed by your guide and led by them, and you're going to be led towards a new opportunity that makes sense for your life, and it does have to do with finances and money, and maybe even a work opportunity with the Page of Pentacles reversed. You've been in a situation where like you haven't wanted to maybe engage in life, but also like maybe there's been sort of opportunities that have been offered to you, and you've been like, that doesn't actually make sense for me at this time. And now I feel like you're going to that. I feel like that was in the past where you were like self-protective, maybe like isolating, but also like maybe for good reason. Maybe you're doing some deep healing, and you were like, no I'd rather have no cup than the cup that you're offering, which isn't what I want, universe. And then something happened where there became more of like a focus on a relationship. I know this is reversed, but excuse me. I'm feeling with this relationship, there was a breakup, but then there was like a rekindling maybe, because it helped you make your life more in focus when you were more in focus with this relationship. And I also feel like there may have been another relationship that you felt rejected by in some capacity. So you're sort of finding healing from someone here, but then there's another person who hurt you, is what I'm getting. You felt like you had to make decisions like that you didn't feel ready for, and you just had to like jump off the cliff and use your intuition. I don't know why, but I'm hearing whistle while you work. Okay, I do associate the Fool card with Aries, which some people might not, but Aries to me is the baby who jumps into the unknown. Zen mind, beginner's mind, jumps into the unknown. I think I've mentioned, sorry, I'm having a lot of thoughts. I was gonna say, I was I think I've talked before about I talked a lot about physics because it just lends itself to the metaphysical work. And there's this thing called uh oh, I'm seeing a deer. Oh my god, I'm seeing this beautiful deer walk. Sorry, I was going to talk about how there's this model of the universe where instead of like what Einstein says is where like the reality that we theory of relativity, right? Where like the reality that we experience can be like stopped, like after it can be like almost like poked a hole through, you know. So then that would say that like the Big Bang is a singular event, you know, it's rare. And then there's this other theory, I forget the acronym for it, but it's more current, and it means, and it's sort of like that. No, it's not a singular event. There's actually have been multiple Big Bangs in multiple universes. And this theory uses the Planck model. So it would say that if a car falls off of a cliff and goes into a ditch, actually the Planck model would have that it spits it back up and it comes back, is rejected from being, you know, from its end. So that would mean that one universe bounces off the next, and there's multiple Big Bangs, and there's multiple uh, solar systems, and we're just one of many like situations. Okay, so it kind of takes the pressure off of this being the only reality. So that's a little heavy, so I'm going to slow that down. So I'm talking about the Fool in terms of like being willing to, rather than this reality ending like singular events and the theory of relativity, like Einstein says that like when the sun explodes, that's it, everything's over. Instead, so that when the Fool jumps off the cliff, according to Einstein, he would jump off the cliff and that's it. Instead, the Planck model says that actually mass at a certain point will be sort of spat back out to recreate new matter, or to recreate new instances. Another example is like, so in that theory the car would be spat back up from a lake if it fell from a cliff into a lake, so that it could happen again and again and again. Whereas Einstein would say that if this is a model of the universe, the car falls down into the lake and that's it, and everyone dies. So another example is a black hole. Stephen Hawking uses Einstein and says that yes, like these are singular events. Like a black hole is like the Big Bang. It's like kind of rare. It's really just a sort of exploded star that's inverted in my mind, and it's become a vacuum of air. But what we know about matter from Niels Bohr is that the particles that are in a black hole are continually creating, and they're becoming and then dissolving like within like milliseconds or maybe less time than that. So there is matter happening, and that would lend itself to the Planck model that it's not just nothingness, it's stuff upon stuff upon stuff. Okay, it's sort of like Shiva, the god Shiva, creation and destruction, creation and destruction. Shiva is a man actually, and he dances, and his dance creates turmoil and destruction, but it also creates magic and power and beauty and rebirth, like the Tower card or like the Judgment card, which is about Christians would say it's about Christ coming again, but mystics would say it's about sort of the end of days where we're all seen in, like, it relates to Einstein and science, that we all think about the end of this world and what there will be. Okay, so sorry, this is a lot of heavy stuff, but so Niels Bohr would say that like since a black hole if we're going back to what Hawking and Einstein say, they say that it's just like sort of like a singular rare event, like, and then Niels Bohr says, well, there's stuff happening and then dying, creating and dying and creating, dying within a black hole vacuum. So it's not just nothing. And then this other theory, which I will write the name of below. I keep forgetting the name of it, but it basically says that yeah, using the Planck model, which is that like mass and gravity have like limits where they may like spit something back out basically to recreate or to sort of upend a situation in terms of mass, volume, gravity. Okay, sorry. So the atoms. Sorry, now I'm talking about quantum jumps. We don't need to be talking about that right now. That's Niels Bohr. But I'm trying to get back on track. The other theory is that no, it's not a singular event. It's just that like these things happen over and over. One universe dies and another universe is born. One Big Bang happens and then 5 more happen. Okay, so it also would say that like there's like more of a pattern. There's like loops instead of like the universe. So if you think of the universe as a sweater, or just existence as we know it, um, in terms of Einstein's theory of singularity or of relativity, if we cut a hole in that, or if we snag a hole in that sweater, there's a hole that just leads to nothing, right? But the other theory is that there's many snags and many loops, and that these holes and snags don't lead to nothing. They just stay on the surface, okay? So I don't know. I'm sorry, I got a little carried away there with the Einstein stuff, but it does relate to the Fool because, and I'll write the second theory. I'm just having a brain fart. I'll write the second theory below at some point. It's a newer theory. Um, it relates to the Fool because I want you to realize that if you make the leap to get out of this situation, there will be a new reality that you fall into. I'm not saying literally jump off a cliff. I'm saying if you make a chance, take a chance, make a change. Sorry. It's like, I don't know the lyrics, but it's like, just like take a chance with something. I don't know. There's something that you're like, oh, I'm trying to balance everything, but I really would like to do that. Well, just try doing that because if you end something, it only creates something else that's new and better. And you felt really like you couldn't recreate something. You felt like, ooh, really big wave of depression coming in. You felt like there wasn't a way out of your life. You felt like you were trapped. You felt like backstabbed, but also betrayed, and like there wasn't. I don't know. I'm hearing trouble eating. The Ten of Swords is an ending, and it's a cycle that. Sorry, loud. Someone with no muffler. So a cycle's ending, but you're also finding that when something ends, something else comes. And the deer that we saw is symbolic, can be linked to Christ in some traditions. Deer symbolism. It was a mother deer, I believe, and she was not young. It was a full-grown deer. Something also here about a mother watching their young. She was probably foraging for food for her young, and they're probably nestled nearby somewhere. Because I don't know if you have children or maybe animals or maybe just someone that you care about that like has been in a tough situation. There's something about like nurturing and also just like trusting that a new universe can be created. And the Planck model, I want to explain that better as like pressure points of mass and volume of weight of like how much, okay, if we squeeze down on an object, how much pressure before it actually breaks. And there's other models of that, like in space, like obviously you can't breathe if you take off your helmet in space because your lungs can't withstand the lack of oxygen. That could be like a basic Planck model. But I'm saying that that's not a good example because you would die. But in terms of like physics and stuff, in terms of understanding space and why we're here, I guess some people would say in that model, you don't die, you become reborn if you're a Buddhist. Something about feeling isolated in space, something about maybe some, sorry, I don't want to, some dark ideation that you had about maybe ending your life. And then at a certain point, the wheel turned and you were like, what am I thinking? What am I doing? Because, swords can be about thoughts. So you were like, no, because we got the Ten of Swords reversed. You were just like, no, I flipped this wheel. I don't choose this. And you rejected everything that made you feel that way. And now you're having temperance with yourself, and you're seeing a little bit, since I relate temperance to Sagittarius, you're seeing with higher wisdom. You're seeing maybe with more compassion for yourself, maybe a little bit of, I don't know why this is coming to mind, but sports are coming to mind because Sagittarius is relating to sports. Sorry, laundry. Sports. I don't know. Did somebody play sports as a kid and maybe there was like an injury that caused insecurity? But now I feel like your guys are telling me like, got it mended, got it bended, bend it like Beckham. Yeah, did somebody play soccer here, or like somebody had like a maybe ACL torn, or like some sort of injury where they're, this also could just be like a metaphor, like it could be like the greater game of life or your career, where they were like, I'm just hearing like an injury call by a ref, and they're like, no, like torn ACL, like torn ACL, no go, no go. So maybe somebody had like a sports career that got ended by an injury, or just you felt that way in life, like your job, or maybe there was some major setback where you were like, I'm benched. I'm hearing I'm benched. But I also get with the sports stuff is that like, you just kind of keep going. I'm thinking about Babe Ruth for some reason, and like how he was the home run like champion or like record holder for a long time. And there's something about here about like just the love of the game I'm hearing. Yeah, just keep going with what you're doing, and also just physical activity could be really important. Like, sometimes in baseball, I used to play baseball as a kid. I was like into like sporty stuff. I mean, I didn't play with a team, but it was kind of like I had like bad asthma, so I became a swimmer. But then I always like played other sports when I could because I couldn't officially play them because I'm allergic to grass. So I would find other ways. Like I got really into basketball at summer camp, and I got really into field hockey at summer camp, and stuff like that. Horses could be important here too because horses relates to Sagittarius. But maybe sports, like actually like activities with others where you're being extroverted. Sagittarius is an extroverted sign. It's just a funny sign because it's higher wisdom, but it's like the higher wisdom is in the body. Like, and sports are metaphor for life, and just keep playing for love of the game is really coming through clear in your life and in whatever sport that you may be interested in, because it's going to guide you. In my life I've been guided a lot by yoga, running, and the biggest one is swimming, which I started when I was like 10 maybe, and became a life sport for me, and like on a swim team, I mean, started at 10. And I don't know, it just clears my head. I do love running too. I love yoga, but nothing clears my head like swimming. And I don't know, it's just sort of like it's exciting, and it's like it doesn't matter that I'm not a kid on the swim team anymore. It's just like something that makes your heart rate beat. Because I feel like you've been with the Ten of Swords reversed, you've been like down and out, like maybe even just depression, and like that causes dangerously low dopamine levels and high cortisol levels. And we wanna up the just all the good feeling chemicals, everything positive. Like, how can you get some positive adrenaline going? I'm also thinking about, so I was thinking just now about, I had a bad run in with a coyote a couple weeks, maybe a month ago, maybe, and actually in a public place, like not in the woods. It was just on a hilltop. But I'm okay, and I was fine. But I was thinking about how sometimes you're running for pleasure, and sometimes you're running for necessity in life. You know, there's going to be a situation where, like with the Ten of Swords reverse, like you've you've been like in some sort of treacherous situation where you felt like you were running from your life, and now it feels like you need to regain the body a little bit. Like I'm just feeling root chakra, like way down. Like you need to just like get a little bit more comfortable in the like your seat in life. Like your how are you sitting? I love this quote. I probably said it before. Sit loosely on the saddle of life, which is Robert Louis Stevenson. It's like just change your sitting position, and the ride is going to be a little bit easier because it's a hard ride for everybody, and there's things that we're all uncertain about. You know, is what's coming clear through clear. You guys are showing me a room, a blue room, a blue room, a blue room. I'm seeing a salamander. Oh, I just had a really clear memory of being a kid and going hiking at Devil's Den in Weston, Connecticut. And I went there a lot as a kid, grew up nearby, and finding a salamander under a rock. And at the time, I was so trying to be a good student that I was like, I don't think this is on our list of things that we're supposed to look for. But I found it, and we should really add it to the list because they're not doing a good. This is how I thought as like an 8-year-old. Like they're not doing a good job of putting all the things that we're finding out here. And I'm going to add it to my checklist. Isn't that funny? So the salamander, oh, it was beautiful, and it was a cool experience, and it was under a rock, so because that's where they like to go when they're cool. It really came out of nowhere. The Blue Room, the blue. Oh, I'm thinking The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison. I don't think I have that book anymore. It's a great book. That book is written in a sort of like Mark Twain style, where it's like the vernacular or like this the way that the culture speaks is written into the book. I'm still not getting what the blue room is. Blue room. The blue. There's somewhere that you maybe felt like you were held captive in a situation, but now you've it's like did you create like an inner sanctuary mentally? And there you almost so maybe like doing some remodeling, maybe you're painting a room blue. Also just like is there a room that was blue that you spent time with someone where it was meaningful? Like maybe it was painted blue, maybe a place of healing, like an office space. But also the blue room, yeah, just the color blue is like calmness, the ocean, healing, healing energy. I think that maybe there's a room of perception that you're in right now, actually, you know, because I think about Carlos Castaneda talking about rooms of perception, whereas Aldous Huxley talks about doors of perception. Uh, Carlos Castaneda talked about like, you know, his peyote teacher, his teacher, I think was his name Don Juan, he taught him that existence and perception is about like what room are we in, and how can we see ourselves and remove ourselves and look at what room are we in, and maybe try to go to that room. So maybe you've been in a room for a long time where you felt disapproved of, is what I'm hearing. Disapproval. And I'm seeing a heart that someone drew, a graffiti heart. You felt like you were looking for love. And also with the deer that I saw passing over here, you felt like you were you felt timid and like almost like you were naive in a situation. But I feel like as you continue with your life, you're just like wearing that naivete as a badge of honor in some way. Like you're not naive anymore to the fact that you think the best of people. And the heart, the graffiti heart, maybe you're an artist, or maybe that could be healing right now, like doing some visual art, like just journaling, crafting. I like collage as a really good entry point for anyone who feels like they're not artistic. And the heart could just be like matters of the heart. I'm hearing there's sorry, I think we got the Hanged Man before and I didn't say anything about it, but the Hanged Man and matters of the heart. I just want to say there's something that you've been waiting on, and now you're seeing maybe the value of. I'm hearing love the one you're with, like the Beatles song, love the one you're with. Maybe there's like something about changing a relationship or a dynamic that you have been in, and because you've changed and the person has changed. I read recently that this card can be about a confession of love, actually, when it's reversed. So I think that's interesting. Maybe somebody's confessed their love to you, or you have to them. And in terms of the Planck model shit and all the universe, that it's not just the universe ends and that's it. There's more and more. It does relate to Buddhist reincarnation and also physics. That can happen within a relationship. That there's births and deaths, and there's recreations and new life. The sun. You have to just like get into the sun and step. I'm hearing forget old ways. Specifically, your guides are saying that you may be someone who like obsessed about family or the right thing to do or what other people think you should do or what other people think. And it's like, no, just step into the sun. And that could also be career. The sun is stepping into being seen. Also just maybe children, creativity. I don't know why I'm hearing acting. Maybe you felt like you were acting in your life, but now I feel like you're acting like you're not acting. You're really happy. You're finding joy, and you're going to be offered some. This is the second time we've got a card like this offering financial opportunity that's going to make you feel empowered. Was the ace is solo. You're going to feel empowered, and you're going to realize it's not just an ending. It's just unlimited abundance, more and more abundance, more and more universes, more and more happiness. The car doesn't just go down into the ditch, it gets spat back up. And we got this card again. I just shuffled immensely. I almost feel like there's something that the universe has been trying to give you and you just haven't been open to it. And now I feel like you're relaxing a little bit and sitting on your saddle of life and you're just letting life take you where it takes you. Thinking about Hawaii, that comes up a lot in my readings. I've been to Hawaii, but I mean, it doesn't come up a lot. It's come up a lot in the last 3 readings, I think. Hawaii could be just a place to go just to see what it's like in a different location. Or just, I'm also thinking Bali, which I haven't been to, or just Thailand, somewhere like maybe like an island. I just feel like it could be, or even just like the Caribbean, it could be meaningful to go somewhere where you're a little more relaxed. Because sometimes the environment we're in all the time can be stressful, even if you live in a nice place. Um, I'm thinking of that Nine Inch Nails song, and also it was covered by Johnny Cash. It's like, I hurt myself today. Da, 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 da. I'm trying to think of the lyrics. I am love. Oh, okay. That song was just an entryway for me to think of the Ring of Fire song, actually written by June Carter Cash, but played by Johnny Cash. I went down, 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 and the flames get high. And I burn, burn, burn in the ring of fire. Burn, 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 burn. I'm getting the song wrong. It's the lyric song. The ring of fire, the ring of fire, the ring of fire. I went down, 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 and the burn flames went higher. There's something that it's almost like things around you had to be set ablaze, like set on fire for something to change. And you know, June Carter Cash and her husband come from, or I don't think her husband does much, but she definitely comes from is it Pentecostal or maybe just evangelical? You know, her parents were like very Christian, and she was raised in that, learning about fire and brimstone, that kind of, and also just that Christ is coming again is a major focus of like Protestant religions. I'm coming from Catholicism here, so constantly explaining it to myself why they don't worship Mary. It's just it's a different angle. Anyway, so by the way, I am not against these things. If you want to look at my posts, I post from all religions, so I'm not against any of this stuff. But anyway, so the Ring of Fire is really reminiscent in terms of her upbringing. It's about hell or about being judged, just about Judgment Day, or it relates because we got the Judgment card reversed. It's almost like the Ring of Fire that we find ourselves in our lives. Like it's not like we're in a living hell, is what I'm trying to say, but like we're always in a pressure point, right? We're always in the Ring of Fire. And it's almost like you could think of the Ring of Fire as like, what are you going to do with this while you're in this Ring of Fire? Maybe this dangerous situation, this pressure point. Are you going to use your skills and your wiles? Are you going to be resourceful to, while you're in that ring of fire, how are you going to use your time? We can think of the Ring of Fire also as life. We're in a ring of fire. And it's sort of before we're in the kingdom of heaven, as some Christians would like to say it, or before we're, before we're in hell, as some would say it. I believe hell can be experienced here on earth, and so can heaven. But the Ring of Fire, you felt like you were in a ring of fire, like there was like a lot of pressure on you, and the flames were getting higher. But then you realized that ring of fire was purifying, and it was beautiful, and it was meaningful, and you felt like, here I am, I'm in the ring of fire, actually watch me in my ring of fire. And it was almost, I'm hearing Phoenix, and you rose above this being some sort of pressure point and almost use that ring of fire to, I don't know, I'm hearing make yourself known. I don't know what that means, but also just make yourself known to yourself spiritually, to open up spiritually. Fire signs energy coming through here, just intuition and self-knowledge. And the fire signs, they kind of say what they want. They can get in trouble sometimes because they say they're brash, and they say what they think. And it's not like the air signs where it's more intellectual and whatever. It's maybe more blunt. All of them can be. So the universe is bluntly telling you with the Ring of Fire. It's go time. It's like the passion is here that you've been missing before when you were in the Ten of Swords. Now it's like you're feeling this excitement for life, and you're feeling I'm just sorry. I'm just feeling like you're eating better. I don't know what that means, but you're exercising, and you're more fulfilled in terms of emotional contentment. And there was a situation for a long time where it was unequal give and take, you weren't, but now it's turned into like charity. Like you're almost seeing like a situation where you felt like, oh, I'm so depleted. It's like this person needs my help, or the person that's helping you, you're like, I need help right now. You're taking off some of that pressure of seeing things negatively, realizing that we're all stuck sometimes. There's always a helping hand, is what I'm hearing from the universe. Your guides want you to know that this situation of suspension that you're in is temporary, but also it's like it's also just until you say it's time to start things back up. There may be barriers, but they also are. This is going to be tough. I want you to think of ways that these barriers are self-imposed, and also ways that you could loop around the barriers, because there are ways and you're just not seeing them right now. And it does have to do with being creative. I'm just getting a lot of family pressure thoughts. I want to tell a little bit of, I talk a lot about family lineage on here, including my own, and not because I feel so connected to my family, but mainly because I just think it's interesting, and I urge other people to look into like how their lineage affects them, and in terms of intergenerational trauma and everything. But so my great great great, or I think it's just great great, I don't know. I think it was my grandmother's grandfather, actually. So I don't know what that is. He came off the boat from Ireland, but he got here. He was a stowaway. He just had no money, no ticket. His family wanted him to be a priest, and he was young, and he was like, "No, I don't want to be a priest. Sorry." Got on the boat to America, no plan, lived off of probably table scraps, and then just came here. And I don't even know how he got his life together, but just what a like crapshoot. But also, it's like the Ring of Fire. He was just like, I went down, 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 and the flames got higher, and it burned, 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 in the burning ring of fire, and it burns, 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 the ring of fire, the ring of fire. It was like the fire was like, am I going to stay here and live this unhappy life in Ireland and be a priest like everybody wants, or am I going to go follow what I want, follow what I want to do? And see what universe is created when this one is destroyed.
I've learned that the salamander represents peacefulness, innocence, and respite from danger, maybe. So, healing, renewal, and water protection, I think, is Native American lore about salamanders. Neither I read it as maybe you've been in hiding, maybe you've been in a tough situation where like you've been under a rock. And also there was a Native American saying don't drink water unless it's ran over a salamander's back because they live in only the cleanest, purest waters. So I feel like you're cleaning in some yeah, it relates to the reading. You're bathing in some pure waters. And the Ring of Fire actually is meant to be about sexual desire or passion or romantic love. So maybe that's an energy that's coming into your experience where there's a feeling for someone or maybe more than one person or maybe just for life. Zest for life. I'm thinking of the book Lust for or the movie Lust for Life. It's about Van Gogh, whose paintings are amazing, and some of the energy that I'm talking about can be seen in his vibrant colors. I believe he was an Aries. Could be wrong, but just that energy of like, wow, how beautiful is life is sort of coming into the picture with the Ring of Fire, and it does have to do with some sort of romantic love for someone else.